And if you're watching on YouTube channel, don't forget to like and subscribe, please. And for the full FreightWaves TV experience, head to tv.freightwaves.com. Right now, we're going to bring on Joe Antashok.
And he was back with us yesterday, joining us today, talking about the release of the driver pay guide up on our ratings platform here on FreightWaves.com. Joe, thank you for coming back with us once again. The guide is live, and let's dig into it a little bit.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me back. Yeah, so the driver pay guide, we wanted to reach out to companies and see if they would give us information on what they're paying truck drivers, basically. Obviously, the driver shortage has been a big conversation for years now. And we wanted to see if they would be willing to actually give us information. And we were pretty surprised by what we got. I mean, we have in this guide almost like 100 companies. And they have broken down the median yearly pay that they give to their drivers across experience levels. And we also have information on, additional incentives like sign-on bonus and stuff like that. We're very excited about it.
So, Joe, is this containing just company drivers, or is there like costs that they're paying out for owner operators that are leasing onto that company as well? Those type of costs.
Well, so we do have companies that are wholly owner operated, and they did also provide us what they believe to be the median yearly pay for those drivers. But that actually brings up a good point. I mean, if you are an owner operator and you think that there's some gamesmanship going on or something like that, reach out to me. Let me know. We'll figure it out.
There you go. So, Joe, who's interested in this? Who benefits this? Is this merely for drivers to go in there and say, "Hey, am I getting screwed on my pay or what?"
I think that's the primary audience that I had in mind in making this list. But I mean, companies can also use it and try to figure out what the competition is paying, I would imagine companies have some information on what their competitors are paying. They can compare it to that, see if maybe they think the other company is not being totally honest, whatever. I think that it has a lot of use just to get this data out there and to just start tracking it. That's another big thing we want to do moving forward, see if we can track some trends and see, catch anything interesting that's happening.
And so you guys have that traditional display of the data, which you can see on the screen right now in that tableized version, but you also have the map version up there. Can you talk us through a little bit about what that map shows? It looks like you've got kind of like regionized data from this.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So it's broken down into regions, and these are regions that we asked companies to basically check off boxes if they're hiring in these regions. It's split up. You get the Northeast up there, you get the Middle Atlantic, South Atlantic, and we go all the way to the West Coast. We also have Alaska and Hawaii in there too. But basically, a company would fill out a survey and they would report whatever regions they're hiring in, and so their data carries over into whatever region they checked. If you move down to the table, you can see all those tabs at the top of it. If you live in the East, North, Central region somewhere, and you're curious to know which of these companies is hiring there, you click that tab and you can sort through and figure out, if you're a driver, who you want to apply to.
Is it giving you the average rates in those regions as well, or is it a national average on the rates?
So it's just a national average there. This is just just a median yearly, kind of compensation picture of these companies.
And so, Joe, I know yesterday we talked about how this puts a lot of power into the hand of the driver when you're coming to the negotiating table or trying to find that new job. But it also puts some power into those companies when they're hiring, right? You can now kind of see this and get a gauge of, especially in that regionalized view, of who's hiring around you, and maybe tailor your practices depending on region to region if you're a company that you're hiring in different regions for. So can you talk a little bit about the goal for companies with that and how that can really help improve their hiring and even their recruiting and maybe their retention processes now too?
Yeah, sure. So I mean, in terms of like the competitive advantages that companies use this for, I mean that I kind of want to just leave out there. My general idea for this kind of list is just really that like more context makes for a better industry or whatever. So the more data that we can assemble, compile, and put into a digestible package, that is ultimately going to improve efficiency and make things better for, hopefully pretty much everyone involved. But right, just trying to level the playing field here, just get this data out there, and right, companies can figure out how to use it to their advantage, as well as hopefully drivers can.
So Joe, is it how dissected is it now, and is there plans to dissect it further to make it more specific for different searches? Because I could see how regional over a median national would be very helpful, depending on the type of carrier, what type of job you're looking for, et cetera.
Yeah, exactly. So, right. I mean, there, full disclosure, the first version of pretty much anything you do is it tends to be a little bit broader.
Sure.
And right, future iterations, we want to get into what kind of trucking. So that is one. I mean, frankly, it's one weakness of the publication right now is that it's not getting into different kinds of trucking, and that is a pretty big differentiator of pay, right? As well as regions are, which you mentioned. So yeah, future iterations, we really want to get more into that. It's just like, we're starting here. This is our foundation, and we're just going to keep running with it.
So Joe, on the editorial research team, you guys have done a ton of stuff the last 6 months, really putting out this driver pay guide, putting out your top 500 for-hire carriers. What else are you guys working on going forward right now?
Yeah, so we're going to have sort of a sister publication to the for-hire list for private carriers. And that's another thing that we'll just maintain year over year to see, sort of which fleets are growing, which are shrinking, that kind of thing. And then further on down the road, we'd like to start up a similar guide for brokers. We want to figure out what brokers are making at different companies, and we think that would be very valuable as well. We'll see if we can get that off the ground, but we're feeling pretty positive about it.
Yeah, I would think you'd be able to do that, especially on an anonymous level, at least is getting that type of stuff. When you start getting into brokers and stuff like that, they start to get a little squirrely with, the evil non-competes and all that other kind of stuff. But, they think that their pay is some type of trade secret at times. But, how often is this driver pay updated? Is this a weekly, a monthly, a quarterly? What is this? When someone looks at it, how are they assured this isn't like a year old and going, well, heck, I'm, way behind or whatever it happens to be?
Yeah, well, I want to see how often we can get new data from companies. It sort of is dependent on how frequently they're willing to do it. It'd be great if we could do this quarterly at least. I think that would be like a good middle ground between, publishing a new one every week and then just publishing one annually or whatever. I think that is the route that I would like to go and that we would like to go as a team. But right, it's, if these companies don't want to give us information ever again.
Well, Joe, I think you can make a strong case, and I think talking about it more and more in the use cases of this, right now it is a great thing, like you mentioned, for drivers to look at it. It's a great tool for them to look at it, and that's the audience you had in mind. I was going the other way as far as benchmarking and understanding who's hiring, who's not in my area as a competitor of mine as a carrier, and where I sit on that spectrum of pay and how I'm moving it. And I think that angle there why wouldn't you not want to contribute to this so you could benchmark against the rest of the industry and break it down by your competitive cohorts eventually would be just really tremendous, I think, for hiring and recruiting and departments within those carriers.
Absolutely. All right, Joe, thank you so much for joining us today. Great to have you as always, and we'll talk to you again soon.
All right, see you guys. Thank you.